Okay, so we can see that at the bottom here, we've got our marketing consultation all scheduled up in our calendar. We can go to our Airtable and we'll see the exact same information. So an appointment for John Doe with appointment notes and appointment date. Now going into my appointment reminder system here, we can click run once and you can see, obviously this is exactly 5 days from now. If we click that, we should be expecting a reminder within a few seconds. Here we go. So I can pick that up. Hello?
Hey, am I speaking with John?
Yeah, that's me.
Karen from One Coaching. So just a quick reminder that you have an appointment with us on July 16th, which is 5 days from now. Any reason why you wouldn't be able to make that?
So I'm actually busy that day.
No worries
I
at
can
all.
need to reschedule.
No problem at all, John. I can help you reschedule. Is there a particular day or time that works better for you? Or would you like me to check our next available slots and suggest a couple of options?
Let's do the exact same time, but the day after.
All right, let me just check if we have the same time available on July 17th for you. So for July 17th, we have openings from 9:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. and then again from 3:30 p.m. to 5 p.m. Could you let me know what time your original appointment was?
Yeah,
or if any of these time slots?
So 12 p.m. is good.
Great, John. I've rescheduled your appointment to July 17th at 12 p.m. You're all set. And just to double check, since you're coming in for a marketing consultation to review your spending, did you have any questions about how we'd assess marketing budgets or identify potential areas of overspending?
Yeah, how do you guys do that?
Great question. So during your marketing consultation, we'll start by reviewing your current marketing budget and spending patterns. We use a combination of comprehensive assessments and industry benchmarks.
Okay, cool. Thanks for your help. All right, so we can do that. And then if we go into our Airtable, we will see that it has now been updated. We now have a new appointment. It's now 6 days from now with the last reminder date appended to the very end row here. I recently noticed that using AI for preventing appointment no-shows is becoming a lot more popular. So I went ahead and built a whole system that reminds people of their appointments before it happens and decreases no-shows by up to 80% by taking different actions depending on the scenario. So today I'll show you this entire solution so you can download the templates available for you completely for free to start using this immediately. I'll first show you how I mapped everything out on a Figma board, and then I'll explain key concepts along the way as I show you the technical build itself. So let's get into it. All right, so the way this actually works is we have a scheduled run on Make.com, right? And if we have an Airtable field that falls within the reminder of the appointment range, so if it is a certain amount of days before the appointment, then it calls the client or the prospect using the personalized notes within the Airtable. So as I showed you, we had the marketing consultation, and that's exactly what the AI was able to tell me. So from this point, we have a condition block, right? And this is where it gets interesting because they can either pick up or not pick up. If they pick up and the person says that they actually want to reschedule or even cancel the appointment, then we can do so, and then we just update the CRM or our Airtable accordingly. If there's no action required, then we just remind them and then we increase the likelihood that they show up, right? And we update the CRM accordingly as well. But then if they don't pick up, then I've accounted for that as well. And we just send them a message using SMS Global about the reminder. And that way we still manage to get the message across to them. So in terms of how the solution works, everything starts off with this Airtable base. And although it's very simple, it's actually very critical for what happens afterwards. So here we have a first name, a last name, some of the booking notes that you saw. So in this case, it was a marketing consultation. That was the name of the appointment. But also we've got these booking notes here talking about what it's actually going to be about, followed by a phone number. And then we have the actual appointment date. Now this here is a formula field that counts towards the appointment date from the current date that it is now. So this way we can pull in the scheduled data and then see how far away is it from the actual appointment, and then depending on when we want to remind them, then we can take certain actions. And then just to confirm from our end, from this visibility that agent actually called them, then we have this field here to update us saying, yeah, we called them up and they probably know that their appointment is coming up. And obviously any changes that are made, we can just see in this field over here. Now on the other end of things, we have the retail AI appointment agent, which, we just have our usual role, task, and, basic headers to go through. So I'll just rattle through this. We have an appointment reminder agent who has a knack for being quick and precise with your job. The task is to read out the script to remind the prospect of their appointment. If they have any questions, kindly use the knowledge base to answer them. If they say they can't make it, use the check availability plus reschedule or cancel tools according to the scenario. So you can see already that we have 3 tools that we are using, and I'll show you in a minute to actually make this agent work. Now here we have the specifics tab, which says you should think about these step by step. You should only use the steps relevant to the interaction. So this is just a message that I like to put in before I use my HTML tags here to remind the agent to not fully adhere to this process here all the time. Here I've got always follow the script, and you'll see that the script is just the baseline. Everything else is kind of loosely held around the agent. If they cannot make the appointment, use either check availability plus the reschedule tool or cancel, because they might also want to cancel and just opt out completely. Then we just double check the original time. This is stuff that we send to the agent, but we want to make sure that they know what date they were in for either way if they would like to cancel. And then answer any questions regarding the appointment using information from the knowledge base, which is just just some text that I put in from Claude and then added it through here by adding a new knowledge base. Okay, so that we go into the tools and knowledge base. We obviously have the knowledge base, but we also have the check availability, which is responsible for checking the upcoming available times if they wish to reschedule. Now, this is just the native cal.com check availability, which makes this a lot more simple. The way I did this is I connected my Google Calendar to cal.com, which meant that I didn't need to make a custom one on Make. But we still need to reschedule, which is why I do use a Make.com later on, but just stay tuned for that. And so yeah, as I was just saying, we use the reschedule tool for updating the calendar in CRM with the rescheduled times. The cancel tool is responsible for canceling appointments in the calendar in the CRM if they opt out completely. Now in the script here, you see that it is very, very short, and it is full of dynamic variables because we want it to be, one, be personalized, and two, we want it to actually adhere to the specifics information rather than a straight up script that makes it rigid and not very flexible, right? So this is all that it says. Hey, am I speaking with first name? I'm Karen from One Coaching. This is the made up coaching business that we've got. And then introduction is a dynamic variable that we make entirely on Make.com before the call happens. And we do that through a GPT module, which I'll show you guys. And then we just double check any reason why you wouldn't be able to make the appointment. And then finally, we have a personalized line here, which we also get from another GPT module, just to keep it like that personalized. And from that point, the agent decides what to do depending on do they need to reschedule, cancel, or do they not need any action at all. And this is exactly what I emphasize here in these notes. So being flexible with your actions depending on the context. Always make sure to use the knowledge base to answer any service-based questions. If reschedule, always use check availability first before the actual reschedule tool, because we want to make sure that we're booking at a time that we can supply them with. And then we just have a dynamic variable here, which is the record ID, which is what we'll use later on to update them on Airtable. We give it the current date and time. And then just the best practice one here, just to always suggest 2 best times if they don't have a date in mind. Cool. So this is, again, not too complex. We give this agent some liberty. This is how we're able to do that using Make.com. So it all starts off with this Airtable here, which we can just add a scheduled trigger by going every day and then just whatever time suits us best. But obviously I just clicked run once because I'm not actually using this. From here we have a filter. Oh, that's not supposed to be there. But we have a filter here that checks the value of the count of days. So going back into the Airtable here, we can see that we have that formula showing up the count of days until their appointment. And we start sending out these appointments from when the count of days is less than or equal to 10. So this can be obviously whatever you want. It can be 2 months, it can be 14 days, whatever you want. But in this case, I went with 10 days. So we're not sending them any reminders until their appointment is less than 10 days away. Okay, so that's the first check. And then we have 3 other checks, and I'll show you why we have 3 very similar branches, but there's still a level of difference and complexity to them. Okay, so the first check is to be obviously 10 days. So this is the very first message that we send to them. If we go through this route, we just give a module here in ChatGPT the instructions to make a personalized line based on the Airtable notes. And that's exactly what we do over here, saying the name and the reason for their appointment, which is the appointment notes. This is the prompt over here. You can pause the video to check that out. It's not very extensive. And then from that point, we send another kind of personalized factor in there. And this is going to be the introduction that we want to hard code into that dynamic variable. So notice that for each of these steps, we actually have one different personalized line that we want to make sure to hard code into the agent depending on how far away their appointment is. Okay, so we do the exact same thing for these 2 first branches. This one is triggered when the check is for 5 days. So the first appointment reminder call that we send is for 10 days, and then the second is 5 days. And then we just do the exact same thing with a slightly tweaked appointment introduction here that we send to the agent, which is what we triggered just now, because our appointment date was 5 days away. And literally the only point of difference that I put in here was that your appointment is 5 days from now as opposed to 10. And now this last branch here, which is 1 day before the appointment, this is where it gets interesting, because this is the third check that we have. And if it is 1 day away, then we send them another personalized call. But in this case, we do a couple things here, and I did this again just to show you the amount of different things that you can do within Make. You don't have to stick to like a rigid rule. It's kind of just to give you more ideas around how this system can be used. But here I've got a slightly different prompt as before. We're just saying to express how excited we are because it's 1 day away, and then write a personalized line. And then I say that this personalized line should be outputted in JSON. And what we do from this point is we make sure to extract everything as a JSON object that we then parse. So just scrolling up here, the response format is a JSON object, and then we pass that response so that we are able to map multiple outputs from one ChatGPT module. And that's pretty much the main difference that you'll find in this one. Again, I just did it to show you guys what was possible doing this. But within each one of these retail AI modules, we are triggering the exact same agent. We know that the information might be slightly tweaked, but essentially it'll be the exact same dynamic variable. So the first name will equal the first name from Airtable. The introduction will be different depending on where you're at in this stage. The personalized line, and from that point on, the agent is pretty much complete. So if we refer back to this Figma board here, I've just covered this side of things over here. So this much is what I've just covered. Now I'm going to tell you how we can actually analyze the CRM and then take these different routes over here. So do these different things, which is all within the second scenario here that we ran, a couple minutes ago when we did the test. So if I go into here, you'll see that we have a webhook, and from this webhook, we have 3 different branches that we might go to. The first one over here is if the tool call that is being triggered equals to cancel. So this is when Retail AI decides to trigger this branch when someone said they would like to cancel an appointment. And what we are doing is we are searching the event for the old time. So going back into Retail AI, I didn't show you this because you wouldn't have understood it if I didn't show you on Make. But essentially this cancel feature here, we are asking them to put in the old date and time of the appointment in this format. And then also the record ID, so we can go back into Airtable and update it, because that is one of the dynamic variables that we send to the agent, so it knows who is who. We have the start date over here, and then the end date is always going to be the start date plus another 30 minutes, because that's the length of the appointment that I went for. Again, you can change this. You can probably put in another variable if you like. But off the back of searching this, we are able to search for the event as we did on this reschedule branch over here. So this is the exact same as the cancel one, but we are now updating an appointment. So you can see here that the name of the tool is reschedule, and then we can just search up events based on the time that we had mentioned to the AI. Then we can just update them over here with the new date, which in this case was the one that I asked for, so 12 p.m. on the following day. And then from this point, we have the record ID from the webhook as input into this module over here. And then the output of that is obviously the new date and time for this appointment, given that this module here was successful in updating the last one. So just in case you didn't get that, in other words, we are searching for that appointment based on the time windows that we give it. And then from that, we get an event ID, and this is the event ID that we use to actually update and know which appointment we are updating. And then from that point, it's just a matter of updating the CRM using the record ID. So now the third and final branch that we have in this scenario here is just analyzing the call, right? So once the call ends, there's obviously 2 ways that it can go. Either it is not picked up, or it is picked up, and then all that we have to do is update everything accordingly using this last little tray over here. So let me just show you what that looks like if we don't actually pick up an appointment. So to do that, I probably have to go over here and manually do 5 days or something. Cool. So from there, I'll probably just try call myself again, but this time I'm not going to pick up. So I'll show you. So I've just shown you a little bit about this, how we update that and take these actions. Now I'm going to show you what happens if it doesn't pick up. Okay, so just going over here and I click run once again. So we are getting the call, but we're just not going to pick that up. All right, so we ran that, and then it went through this branch over here as mentioned, and then we got that text over here saying, hey, you just missed your reminder call and it's 5 days from now. And how I'm able to do that is simple. So firstly, in this router here, we are targeting it towards an end call. So the event is call analyzed, which is one of 3 checks that Retail AI lets us know of One is when the call started, one is when it's finished, and then one is when it's actually analyzed. This is the one that we are capturing because it contains all the data from the call, which then we can check over here. So if in voicemail equals true, we know that they didn't actually pick up. So then we go towards this branch here where we tell this AI agent exactly what our voice agent was going to say, but we say within 160 characters or less because the phone provider that I use has that limit on it. But we still managed to do everything using this prompt over here, which is pretty safe. Once we do that, what I use is SMS Global. You can see here the 200 check, and we send everything within one long URL parameter, just like that. And that's the full message in a URL encoded way. So we are sending it to the number that we get from the webhook, which is the number getting called. And then we just wrap this result from ChatGPT around an encode URL. And then regardless of whether this branch and this filter here is triggered or not, we always go to the second check here on the router, which is the Airtable update saying they have been in contact. But as mentioned before, everything is free. It's been templated into a downloadable URL for you to start using immediately. Hope this video helped you, and see you next time.